Hi, I'm Jamima. I'm a CG leader in YM for High School 3 and 4B.
My name is Edmund, and I'm a zone leader at Zone 4C for the campus group.
Hey everyone, my name is Gabe and I'm from the Youth Ministry. In 2020 and 2021 for the Youth Ministry FGAKL, it was a big change for us.
YM in 2020 had a lot of members and leaders drop out because of everything going online.
I think for 2021, it's increasingly harder compared to last year because it's almost 2 years in that we're doing this online thing, meeting CGs online, doing service online, and I feel like our members are slowly feeling the quote-unquote online fatigue, and I think for the most part of this year we were just trying to fix that and to really get our members connected again.
With the advice of my leaders, they encourage us to start small, focus on a small group of them, and then grow from there. And from there, we started doing Bible classes and just intentional discipleship with one-on-one with the members, and we managed to gather some of the members and intentionally disciple them.
So when we did that split into smaller groups, we intentionally want them to participate, in CG, whether be it in be more vocal in discussions, and to turn on the webcam is always the tough thing, but eventually got them to do that. I think definitely their involvement in CG has definitely increased because now that they're in a smaller group now, and I think we will be continuing to do that moving forward.
For me personally, I mainly lead the youngest age group, the 13 and 14 years olds. In this season, over the past 2 years, it was a bit difficult to lead the younger groups coming up from children's ministry, mainly because the meetups with them were over Zoom and we didn't really have a chance to see them face to face and have that personal connection. So knowing their nature of needing to be very engaged and active and very involved in activity, doing CG over Zoom was becoming a little bit more difficult and a little bit boring because they also use it for school. With the new members coming out from children's ministry, we moved into a new platform which is more well-versed with them. Right? This platform usually used by the gaming community, but we tried it out for our CGs because a lot of our members were really into that platform. With that, we also started to see more members coming onto this platform and being engaged in our CGs. Grouping back our small groups that have been scattered has been our main focus for this season. And we introduced our SCT classes and discipleship groups and even started Alpha Online through CGs and also schools. This brought in many new friends and we managed to preach the gospel to them through Alpha that was available online.
The question we had was, how can we connect our leaders and members together? And the idea of using games as a tool to connect each other was born from that. YM Game of Zones was actually an avenue for leaders and members to build new friendships with themselves and with new friends who join along. I think the biggest struggle we had with this whole YM Game of Zones was that it was something new and everything was online. We are so used to physical events that doing games online was a whole new ball game for us, and that was our biggest struggle, trying to come up with new ways to engage each other, but somehow everything came together and we believe that God's hand was upon this whole event. Besides the members and leaders joining the games and just having fun with the different kind of games that we came up with, one thing that we've got common feedback was that while these members and leaders played together in those small groups, they actually developed a bond with each other. From 1 week of playing together, they wanted to play again next week. Let's play again next week, again and again, because they had formed some sort of bond with each other through working together in games. And that was something that we thought was amazing. And the whole idea of doing this whole Game of Zones was to bring back the leaders and the members together to build relationships with each other.
And so, one of the new things that we have embarked on last year is mentoring paradigms. And so essentially, what we have was a class with Pastor Anand every 2 weeks, going through the chapters of the book. And in each class, we had a pretty in-depth discussion regarding what we understood from the chapters and how it actually applies to our lives. There were times when we really didn't understand how it could relate to us, and it seems pretty straightforward. But actually, that's when Pastor Anand comes in to help us see that there was more that was written. It was actually really challenging because certain lessons and chapters that we learned were like pills that were really, really hard to swallow, because for us, it really seemed like a wake-up call or something like that. I actually remember one of the lessons where we were talking about commitment and surrender. And for me, that's a struggle that I have been dealing with for a while now, but I chose to ignore it. But what that chapter talks about in regards to surrender was to really just trust God with all the commitments that He has given to me. And personally, I have been swamped with so many, and I have been working on these commitments through my own capabilities and seeing how much I can do. But the simplest thing that I have learned, yet ignored, was learning to surrender these commitments to God and trusting Him to work in me. So that's actually one of the many things that I have learned from these classes. In retrospect, everything that we have learned from the book is still very much applicable in our lives, and in every aspect and also every stage of it. And I would really encourage everyone to give it a go, to be discipled and to disciple others.
I think for the past 9 months, I've been following this class conducted by Pastor Anand. He really breaks it down to bite-sized value on content that you can take home. Be it you just started, or you're a leader, or you're a pastor. I thought it was pretty relevant to, at all stages. In those weeks, I really felt that, God is really speaking to me through these lessons. And I've seen my fellow leaders who have picked up a couple of values here and there and apply it in how they run CG as well.
When I first heard about Mentoring Paradigm, I was actually quite excited because it's been a while since we had a Bible class. Before we go for our lesson, we would have to read the chapter beforehand. And when we joined for the lesson, Pastor Anand would ask each one of us what was our takeaway from that chapter. And we would share what we got, and he would go through one by one with us about our takeaway and ask us to dive deeper into what stood out and why it stood out, and how can we apply it into our ministry, whether it's in CG, in the worship team, in our workplace, with our family. I remember when we did this whole mentoring paradigm, every chapter there was something that stood out to me because it was just full of interesting things and very thought-provoking lessons.
Off the top of my head, that I think I've learned from the book was that discipleship is not just a chore. It's not just a thing that you do out of your obligation as a CG leader, but it's a very relational thing. And oftentimes we got caught up with the doing, and we forgot about that at the end of the day we all are related to each other. We're just here to build relationship, just like how Jesus did.
2021 started with the call to start small to become big. And as YM has started focusing on building small groups, my hope that in 2022 that we will be able to strengthen the bonds in the small groups, intentionally disciple them, and from there it overflows to the people around us, whereby those in the small groups start forming other small groups in their community, whether it is at school or at work.
So my hope for YM in 2022 is that we will continue to persevere and to place our faith in God, that He will bring us through whatever that lies ahead. And as disciples, we need to be real, raw, and relevant with each other so that we can grow further and deeper in God, just as we are blessed to be a blessing to others.